Yo, what's up, people? How you guys doing? Hope all is swell. As you can tell, I am back. This won't be for a forever lasting one. What's up, Popovsky? How's it going? This will be a short and sweet one. Um, but that's good. Not everything doesn't have to last forever. Some things have to last. Other things, no. Like shattering puzzle records, which matter for, I guess, for two people on the planet, nobody else. But for everybody else, there are some cool stuff out there, like Vikanze or Tata Steel, as popularly known. So there are other fun stuff there. There's not just the ones that you always keep watching. Some things are boring. It's good that they are switched and, just becoming different. Good that people try out new openings, they try out new channels, and they try out new forms of chess. Alright, that was a long list. Don't know what I'm talking about. Anyways, let's talk about this game a little bit. I wanna talk about it. I wanna kind of pick your guys' brains of what should black do in this position. Not saying it's necessarily fantastic, but it may become fantastic later. So let me double check a couple of things. Yup. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. Finoki. Yeah. Alright. So, all is good. I'd say all is good in Zyhood. So in this position, it's all about sort of understanding and realizing the difference between the two positions. First off, white has some control in the middle with a pawn on e5, pawn on f4. That was opened. And that should actually give some little pull for white, right? Oh, yes, how you doing? Doing all right. You look at that and you'd be wondering, interesting. Interesting stuff. You saw me Hikaru watching, yeah. So yeah, let's wonder a little bit what our plans would be, or what plans there would be for our opponent. Like, one of the first steps forward is to understand our opponent's thought processes. Hello. So, what do you think white will do in the upcoming moves? What would make sense here? So when I'm asking what kind of moves, that really is like making a move. Yeah, knight d6 could be one, but knight d6 possibly could be captured, so we are actually having that defended. you don't always have to expect the worst to happen. But knight d6 is sort of repelled. White to move, Pumpkin the cat. White to move. I'm gonna type it out. White to move. Yeah, rook d1 could be one idea. What else? What else is there? Steven, thank you for the follow. Schubert makes the wonderful remark, I can't really add to this one, but I'm a Barbara Streisand. Good for you. So rook d1, yeah, but you could also just get that bishop out, right? Like, why not? Played Ilya. Nice, Steven. Good, good. So bishop d2. I hate these arrows. They have to fix these. This is not a move. That's not how a bishop moves. Trust me, I played this game for a while. This is not how the bishop moves. Pretty sure that's not the way. Should go bishop d2. Now, this is not too threatening, even though it does connect the rooks. So, I castled. Said, say what? My opponent here refuses to connect this, and in fact, I've got a relative who also started playing chess, and one of his favorite hobby is not to connect rooks. How many of you don't do it either? Rook connectors, or people who don't connect rooks. You always connect rooks? Good, 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 good. Yeah, and also, Schubert, like, you just suggest any move, that's fine. And in chess, like, that's the way you go. You go by trial and error. Even computers go trial and error, and even though they suck. Computers really suck. We are, like, amazing compared to computers. Although, in some shape and form, we're computers ourselves. Steven, I think you're late. That suggestion has been already used up. So, yeah. Alright. So, my opponent played g3 instead. And now you should be kind of wondering which one of your pieces are horrible in the position. Like, horrible. You have one piece that's absolutely terrible. So your goal should be to deal with that somehow. Mm-hmm. That is indeed the culprit. And I did go f6 there, undermining the center. And this is especially good because the king is in the middle, and I am planning to go knight f7 there. Bishop? I don't know what we could really say about that bishop over there. But as Pumpkin the Cat pointed out correctly, it's doing a fine job controlling some of those squares. And that is fine. f6, very good move. Getting the knight in. 1. Knight f7. It's funny to me, my opponent just refuses ever to get these guys out, practically playing a bishop and rook down. Hey, Mouse of Danger, how's it going? Knight d4, fe, obviously. The more we trade in the middle, the better. Knight takes, here, king f3, he takes. And I'm wondering how you guys would take back that pawn on f4. It's Friday, indeed. It is Friday. It's not the 13th, unfortunately, it's the 21st. Which is worse, right? It's much, much worse. Terrible. Terrible. You ask me, it's terrible. So I would rather take with the g-pawn, just to restrict my opponent's play and have this pawn as a shelter. But my opponent took with the bishop. This is the time for us to shine. My humble chatterinos. It's our time to shine. La da 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 la da da la 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 la. Try to look at the position, wonder what we should be doing. That didn't rhyme at all right now, but who cares a hoot? So we've got a totem pole of pieces over here. What would be a dream to do? So I'd prefer if you guys try to sort of verbalize your ideas, why you think your suggestion works, not just that robo think of this is move, it must be best. That's not quite what I'd like to hear, and it doesn't really help you become a better player either. So suggestions of g6, knight d5, knight g5, sort of trying to clear the view, I guess, for the rook. That is correct. Even though there's a Chevapchicha over there, you want to use that as much as you can. Of course you like Mass of Danger's thinking, because Mass of Danger exactly goes contrary to what I suggested or thought that would be useful. So, yeah, does not surprise me. So, knight e5 is a fine move. Trades. The point being that after this trade, the king goes here. We could even go g6, set up rook e8, and the king on e4 doesn't feel too comfortable. It is actually pretty bad of a position over there, and it does not feel right. Takes, bishop takes. So really you gotta wonder, you go g6, what they'll do. And they go knight h6. Chat, what do you think? You saw the game, so you win. Haha. Good for you. Good for you. Good for you there, Schubert. Very, very good. So what is problem of knight h6? Here. Always got to wonder. just to wonder a tidbit of what's up. Yeah, you take, and this is the reason why you always start with your opponent's threats first, not your own. It's not like, huh, I've got an idea there, huh, 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 because then you lose. But you realize, hey man, you want to take my rook? Come again next time, buddy. To check, you gotta move the bishop, otherwise a take ye. If you go here, exactly g5, and it's lost. That is one of the primary reasons there. Which is, of course, an important part of the dealio, right? Important part of the dealio, mate. Always got to be on the lookout for that one. So, g6. Here, my opponent could go knight e3. So it's not like my opponent's lost on the spot. Actually, knight e3 is not that good. Probably g5 is better. I mean, here, then there's g5. If takes, I've got a double attack. But in hindsight, maybe this is very strong. g5, then bishop moves, I could take. Yeah, probably g6 is better. Haven't really considered that, and that is shameful. Shame! Shame! Seems that g6 is better than. I played knight g5 check. Wonder, g6 is that brutal. No. Ah, so the computer says that g5 is indeed brutal, but there is some counter-attacking ideas. There is some sneaky counter-attacking play here for white. Sneaky counter-attacking move. And these are actually the hardest ones, because as humans, you kind of feel, oh my god, I messed up. I wanna resign. Sad meme puppy eyes. But you really shouldn't be feeling like that. But instead, keep on fighting. And a lot of times you just don't do that, which is, of course, an issue. Chat, I can't hear you breathing. Stop not breathing. Breathing is good for you. Don't forget that. Sup, Joe? The other Joe said it was your game we looked at the last time. What's happening here? Well, what it is, it's not abundantly clear. Traxler, I think that's your dream scenario. It was a different game as per what I remember. If I remember correctly, it was a Philidor. And I said some sage stuff, and it happened a couple of days ago, so you may want to check it out. Yes. So chop chat, white to move. Don't go like, g5 was easy and this is hard. Work on it. Work it. Or work it, chat. Work it. Haven't opened my Polgar book? Well, it's on you, Schubert. It is on you. Bishop d6 is your instinct? Well, bishop d6, let's see. And what is bishop d6? Boink, boink, chach. Yeah. You move the king. You go knight f5. Boom. That's unfortunate. That is not the move. But you tried. So you're already better than most who never tried. Moral of the story, trying is better than not trying. So here the move. Coast is clear. Is there anyone else having a suggestion? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, Malice of Danger is back with illegal moves. Hooray. So knight takes d5 is the right move. Takes and knight b6. And if you are getting double attacked, that doesn't always mean you can't attack them. So here you have knight b6, and actually there's a double attack. So white doesn't have to give up immediately. Can still hope for some fight. And knight b6, if captures, captures. This is an advantage usually to have two pieces instead of a rook, but it's not like an earth-shattering one. It's somewhat of a positional advantage, but it's nothing more than that. Alright, I played knight g5 check. Same idea, trying to press those. King g2, takes, takes, and I'm starting to bully the f-pawn. I bully the f-pawn because I believe staunchly in being a greedy bastard. I want to win the pawn. Yeah, that was your move. Well done, Pumpkin the cat. King g3. Alright, so at this moment, you gotta do what you do in medieval times. You gotta besiege our opponent's position or castle. Although that is a misnomer because the rooks are a little bit out of sorts right now. So, you already talked about those guys being a little loose. So your goal should be to go after them. Can you take on c3? Could be. But at the moment, do you have the advantage? Does black have the advantage? Okay, let's go with that one, because this will be an important topic I was to bring up earlier before. I want to do it again. Is black better here? So why would black be better in this position, if you think so? There's the bishop imbalance. You're making up stuff there, Joe, but I like it. G6, that's a legal move, but that's not understanding the position. Understanding the position is looking at the pawn structure and a perfect posture of your opponent, which is obviously not perfect posture. Otherwise, yeah, the clinics would be empty. King is unguarded. The Guardian pawns are a little bit shoddy over there. These guys are loose. That is loose. We can say that our pawns are nice. They're all well guarded. And our king is happy with those defenders all around. Yep, two isolated pawns. So now, if you would be having a position where you have no extra advantage, you could go bishop takes c3 and go, haha, why does computer make a random move? Take here and say, haha, I've got a trick. But when you have a better position, you already don't need to play for tricks. You're up a queen, don't need no reason to play for tricks. You're up a rook, just play, consolidate, make sure everything's guarded. So here, the reason I didn't take on c3, if you miscalculate, as all of you have already said, black already has the advantage. There is no reason for me to complicate matters. For white, obviously, complications are favored. What's up, Chexy? So all of that is better. So let's try to improve on our position, which would help us besiege this pawn without creating a weakness and attack the knight. Bishop d8. I'm actually happy with my move of bishop d8. I'm not going all the way through into tactics, but I'm going for an activating move, making sure that c pawn, I mean not the c pawn, but the c bishop is putting a lot of pressure on the f pawn. Knight d6, bishop c7. I don't really care about that one because you get annihilated by my one punch man rook on f4. Just look there. One punch. That's it. It got one punched. Absolutely one punch there. Boom. Bongo. Courage one. Thank you for the subscribe with Prime. Welcome, welcome. So now it is just gone. There's nothing you can do there. It is just gone. So you can see that I sort of reorganized my pieces. My bishop, which was facing a wall of pawns, is eyeing a pawn that is of a target on f4. But if they move the other knight, well, that doesn't really change too much. I can still go here, and these knights are tangled. The knight can never move because I take that one, and eventually I will be able to kick out that knight. Here, rook f1. Okay, so a lot of times you just have to be consistent. So my next move is just a consistent move. I'm not saying it's the best, but it's consistent. And that's half the mission, really. b5? Well, it seems consistent, but it's utterly not consistent. I mean, just if you realize why your bishop wandered here, you know what we're trying to accomplish. So why did we bring that bishop there in the first place? Just be very purposeful in chess, and that will help you get to top, to your top form. Not to the top, that'd be a little bit excessive, but at least help you become better. Alright, granted none of you actually cared what I said. We put this bishop on c7 because we're trying to undermine the f-pawn. Now, rook d8 sort of indirectly is trying to solve the problem, but you don't always have to do magic tricks to win a chess game. This is not a magic show. Just go rook f6. Did. Preparing to double up on the f file and just op it down simply. Simple chess. Simple chess. You don't always have to do magical stuff, especially when the pawn is isolated. Knight e4. Thank you so much. Rook 6. Knight f4. Up this battery. d1. Knight d5 check. 2. Involve the rook. Note there is no one left behind. Got the rook, knight, and the bishop all involved in the game, and that's how it should be. Knight c5, b6, over defending. Knight 3. Okay. So the first thing that we should be wondering, what is our opponent planning to do? This isn't magic, it's chess. True. What is my opponent, Vitic, is trying to accomplish? What is the plan? Well, the plan is to get the knight to d4. So I said, putting a little pressure on you. And once you played rook d4, I go check here, here takes. So basically, I made sure that there's no knight jumps. I hate it when this thingy happens. Here, trying to infiltrate. No, not on my watch. Here, check. Here, I repeat one more time just to win time. Here, just go back home, over defend. Did I have b5? f5. Don't think so. No. 5. No, the problem with b5 is captures. You sort of forget about your opponent's threats. And this is one of those things I blabber about a lot. You're focusing too much on your own threats instead of your opponent's. If you'd focus on your opponent's threats, that's when everything starts clicking. What's up, Cherry? Any more emote slots? Why, you got a suggestion? Suggestion over there? I kept looking at b5. So yeah, I mean, we're all kind of at the mercy. I want to draw b. Come on. I want to draw. Yes, that's what I'm trying to do. So we're having all these ideas. But you ought to always look, why the heck would they go rook d1? Well, to bother our pony. Here takes, here check, check, rook g6. A fedora for 1. Yeah, so you can post these ideas on our Discord. Got a idea section. But I mean, it should be working, but it just doesn't. Och well. What to do? What to do? The rook g6. And then I just push my pawn. Success. My opponent lost. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't work. We'll have to fix it. Cherry green. She is Bojamoy and Sag at the same time, but what to do? So what did we learn from this game? What we learned is that in a good position, first off, you look for bad pieces, try to improve them. You open up the position in front of the king, and that you don't always go for adventures if you know that the advantage is already on your side. You're requesting a song? What are you going to sing, Kozirev? Very excited. Alright, I really like that bishop maneuver. How'd you do? Yeah, it's actually a nice one. Okay. Let's see. So we got a couple of interesting games. I'm gonna look them up and we're gonna take a look at them. Gonna take a look at the Carlsen game and some others as well. Levien and Rose in polka fashion. That is preposterous. That is preposterous. How dare you even suggest that? Enjoy the stream. Hopefully people will try. Alright. So, let's go there. Let's take a look at this one. And this game is super interesting because Rapport did start off with a nice win against Carlsen some time ago. I think it was already in Tata, like Tata Steel, when he did that. And then he just sort of were always in trouble and never really found a groove against Carlsen, like lost terribly in a Taimanov, where of course he was playing a black. And now we're looking at today's game between Rapport and Carlsen. You've got 10 days off. Woohoo! Ping pong, thank you for the follow. So knight f3. This pony move has been very popular as of late. We're gonna take a look at a couple of those that is kind of related to this topic. This very topic. Sure thing, Mr. Mato. Knight f3, d5 here, c4, e6, g3. What is actually worth mentioning is that some guy named Jordan von Forest actually got this one going, played this one as black. Bishop f5 here, here. Takes here. Eventually traded here, and after some complications held Carlsen. So it seems to me that this would have been a better meta for Rapport, because what you're going to see isn't going to be too pretty, and it's not Rapport's type of play. Or maybe that was the brilliancy by Carlsen. But right now, I wonder whom you would guess to come up top at the Tata Steel. And I will dare ask you all. I dare ask y'all what you expect to happen now. Yo, Kubels, thank you for the follow. You think Rapport entered the Carlsen minefield? Not impossible. I'd bet Carlsen based on skill, but this should be never even. Right? What? I don't know what you're saying. So the poll is up. Choose your winners wisely. Schach is actually doing fine. Why is Rapport not an option? Well, he's got some ways to go. I mean, I couldn't list everyone. Let's be honest there, Saptashwa. I'd love to see him succeed, but right now doesn't really look that good. He will have to go on a winning streak, which of course is not impossible, but he has to go for that. Right now, Schach is in the lead. Yesipenko is on lurk mode. He already played Carlsen too, so that's an advantage of its own. He's been lurking. Do you think he's going to play his G4 attack? No. So D4, here's C4, G3, takes, here knight C6. So Rapport tried to surprise Carlsen, but I think that kind of backfired. I think he felt like, oh, it's like you can call the ambulance, but not for me. And that is kind of the thing that's happening here. Castles, and here the main line is pawn to a6. But Richie played rook b8, which is a lesser known move, lesser played move. So you can't really blame us that good. I think Rapport needed some advice from his second for today's game. Yeah. I think he just needs to sort of restructure his way of dealing with Carlsen. Jordan, even though maybe not the strongest player as of yet, but he has a good mindset when playing the world champion. And I think Rapport needs to fix that. I think bit of CBT could be of a help here. You catch my very much psychoanalytic sentence there. Or actually it's no, it's just it is just cognitive. It's basically it's cognitive behavioral therapy. That's what it is. Thank you, Saptashva. Came to the same conclusion. Okay, I did that, but with a little bit of slower. I can't explain myself, but I was slower. So here Carlsen comes up with bishop e3, bishop d6, and this is kind of like two heavyweight champions packing punches. Rook b8 is the first one saying, hey man, you're gonna fight on my terms. Carlsen is like, yo boy, I'm gonna go bishop e3. I am going to surprise you. But no, surprise you, buddy. Because bishop d6 is a rare move in itself. So bishop d6 goes there. It's sort of preparing ideas of e5. And if black manages to accomplish that, then he's going to have a fine position. Only issue that you're sort of facing, that anytime you'd go for these e5 breaks, that pawn is hanging. That is sort of one difference between pawn to a6 line and rook b8, that there's actually this bishop takes a7 move. Well, he's not playing too well so far in Chess Ninja. Like, Magnus had one of his first good games for like 2-3 rounds. He didn't show too much against Grandelius, and in general wasn't too awe-inspiring. Hans Chang, thank you for subscribing to Tier 1 6 months. Hello. So I think he might get back into the groove, but we'll see, because there'll still be Schach ahead. Some Schaching will be played. We'll see how it goes. I mean, Schach, of course, is one of the favorites among other players. So yeah, e5 doesn't really work due to that idea. Played b5, e3, Bishop b7, trades, queen takes, knight b4. So far, very normal play by Rapport, trying to keep this bishop up. Alright, so you might be new to this position, and there's nothing wrong with that. What do you think will be the most critical squares this Catalan game? Yo, keep it English there, people, because we want to be able to have everything under control. So, Angelski, Kozirev, Angelski. See, you can do the same thing, but type it in English. Yeah, English or Klingon, yes, exactly, Gandalf. Exactement. So critical squares will be these ones. Now, we can't really reinforce that square at the moment. This would just ruin the structure. That would become a little bit weak. So Carlsen's not going to do that, but he could start controlling the d5 square. What can we do about that? So I appreciate your Oni-chan impression there, e4, e6. But let's consider concentrating on this position instead. You were correct on d5. Now you can retire, tell your grandchildren how much you accomplished in life. Of course, it's approved. Very much approved. Very much approved. I know some of you are shocked, but this is what you have over here. You gotta look out for all these options. Yup. Gots to do it. Gots to do it. So there's two options you have. You could go here, or you could go here. Now there's a slight difference between these two moves. Not saying one of them is better than the other, but it is. If you go knight c3, well, auf Wiedersehen. The lady will have to move away. In fact, this is your only place to go to. And your pieces get a little bit untangled. Castles, and yeah, this isn't necessarily that great. Well, yeah, of course. If you've seen the game, you might even know the moves played, for sure. Develop the knight on b1 looks like it's not so great, yeah. But of course, there's a deep idea there, so you have a good point, Kozira. So you could go bishop g5, definitely an option. Probably was considering doing that, but must have been a little bit concerned of ideas of trapping the rook. So instead played a3, as Ref pointed out. Bishop g5, castle, knight d2. And it turns out, really what Carlsen wants, and it's disgusting, is e4. Now he had a knack of wanting e4 on move 110, but I guess 15 will do as well. You get 2 pawns in the center. Also, now as black lacks pawn control, it may actually create a forky fork. Of course, is of a problem. Yeah, this is a dream position for him, for sure. H6, trades. Rook c1, knight d7. Looking for counterplay. Queen a4, c5. And actually, that's one of those things I feel like this is not Rapport's type of position. Because usually, if you just play this Karpov style, slowly, methodically, over defending your position, you're in literally no danger of messing it up. However, if you're playing this in a different style, like if you're playing it like Rapport, this is not as great because you're sometimes overextending. And this is just too of a classical position to do that. Knight d7. But knight d7 sort of allows some nasty play for Carlsen. Rapport clearly wants to strike with c5. So you can either stop the idea or try to counterattack. Something very similar that we talked earlier. Alright, so options. Knight b3 is an option, yeah. What else? Yeah, e4 sort of does not react. E4 is like, whatever, I'm just gonna do what I'm gonna do. Who cares? How does e3 respond to c5? It doesn't. Well, white could try to go knight e1 and put some pressure on the white squares. Yes, it leads to a trade, but maybe eventually you can push on through with d5. And if black is not quick on his toes, knight d3 could show up and attack the c5 square. Knight e1 is an option. Knight b3 unfortunately loses to bishop d5 because of the double attack. But here Carlsen played a third move, which is queen a4, basically saying, okay, have a fun time playing c5, I'm going to take your a pawn. Yeah, Hans Schenk, exactly. So sometimes you don't have to go direct and look for a direct way of stopping your opponent's plan, but try to find a new idea in the position, and they sort of will be forced to react. c5, Rapport still doesn't want to, takes. And I feel that Rapport sort of made a mistake by taking on f3. Now, if you don't know, the bishop pair usually gives some counterplay in any type of position. So taking would have been better, I think. I mean, still down a pawn, but you got the bishops to work with. Instead, he took here. Took here. I don't have queen d4 because of bishop e5. Played rook a2. And it's interesting to me how Rapport sort of deals with these scenarios. Sometimes it feels that he just gives up hope. Or he's too concrete. Like, that could be like in between. Here he masked one last shot. He could try. And I think it's fairly reasonable to play that way here. Black still has a move here that could provide some chance. What was the reason to take on f3? That is something you ought to ask Richard. Probably he believed that this is working and he's not wrong, but his solution is a little bit too straightforward. All right, we're not gonna give up. Chat, try to find this move. You got to learn how to fight. Can't just go down. Can't go down like that, son. Can't go down like that. Nope, can't do it, mate. Well, it is black to move, obviously. So first off, you start with identifying your opponent's threats. It's never about what move I have in mind, but what my opponent is intending to do. Yeah, they want to munch on our pawn on d4, and it's disgusting. How dare they? How dare they wanna take that pawn? Disgusting, mate. It's disgusting. They want to double? Well, it's kind of like an empty file, Hans Sheng. There's nothing happening here. Yeah, if you go queen f6, this knight needs defense. Knight e5, they capture the pawn. So you sort of act like the owner of a poisoned apple. They look at it, hey, this is an apple and it's poison. I don't want it. You have it. And then, you know, the whole Iliad starts, the Greek drama. The whole Greek drama starts. Same thing with the d-pawn. You want to take my d-pawn? You have it. You have my d-pawn. I don't need it. Enjoy, enjoy, munch on that disgusting apple over there. And in fact, this would have given some ample counterplay for Rapport. Now, I think this is sort of, as I said earlier, more of a psychological thing. Like, you would be arguing, oh, it's never gonna work, but you know, you can try, and both of these pawns are slightly weak. So there's ample practical chances here to hold. It's not necessarily anyone's favorite having this position, but you know. I mean, I know what's everyone's favorite, and everyone's favorite literally is gambiting, and gambiting of the highest of sorts. I mean, that's what we do. What's up, Har? And that is the top 5 gambits you should know. And yeah, black is down a pawn, but the dark squares are extremely weak. And if Richie could get the bishop to d4, that hope of holding is very possible. Yep. He played queen e7, which is not ideal, let's be honest. It looks good. So if takes, he probably calculated that at the end of the day, If you take here, this one's hanging. Capture that. But the problem is not the quantity of the pawns, but the quality that a pawn supported by the f3 bishop is sort of a hard not to crack. It's just very, very difficult, and this bishop has no ways of coming closer. In fact, this d pawn is in the way. As I said earlier, if you could post the bishop on d4, you could survive, and now it's gonna be very, very difficult to do so. It could be that it's more like intuitive play by black. Felt that this is fine intuitively. Hey, Chess Zebra, what's up? But it wasn't weak. You can't just say, oh, what, like, it wasn't a weak move. It was sort of misunderstanding the position and underestimating the a1. a4, rook d8, and Richie is actually giving the d pawn, but it's not the same deal. The bishop can go there, and there is no weakness on d3. Rook b4, queen c3, here a5, and basically you could say that that pawn coasts. Well, it's funny how you're trying to put the vet blanket on Rapport. I wouldn't be that harsh. It's not like queen e7 is just like an outwardly bad move. I think he just underestimated how dire the situation is. Of course, if you are looking from an engine perspective, you can throw question marks as you see in any analysis cases, but I don't think that's fair. Chess is played over the board and you don't necessarily know what's happening. Whenever you see some super grandmasters, they look up the game and say, oh yeah, I was thinking of that. Of course they didn't, but we have these tendencies of make-believe that we calculated lines that we just saw the first time in our lives because we want to make memories of us being great. Sometimes we're not. So yeah, queen e7 was sort of misunderstanding the scenario. Had to go for desperate measures already. Or maybe he was just not ready to go that direction. Is he Hungarian? Yes, he is. Did I play him? Yes, I did. Yeah, bishop f3 wasn't perfect, but it wasn't like the decisive mistake, John Walker. Like, he definitely had a shot. It didn't end. Didn't quite end here. Queen a7. He is fighting, but it's just not quite the same. Queen a7, and here comes really the Carlsen massage. It could be that he missed this move by Carlsen. I wouldn't discount that probability. And this next move by Magnus is very strong. It's white to play. It's difficult to play, but you know it's not impossible. Any move suggestions? Change? Why so Hans Schenk, this is one of those things, and you were sort of late. Whenever you have a better position, there's no reason to give up material. Only give up material when there's reason to complicate. Right now, we're better up a pawn. Giving up material is just detrimental to the position. Rook to a1 is fine. Pawn saver. Like over defending. That's fine. Queen e3, but what if knight c8? What if queen e3 and knight c8? What then? What then? What in that case? And of course, as we said earlier, if you take, I take. You could go knight e4. Probably knight d5. So I'm still waiting for an answer. What if queen e3 and knight c8? What if black goes here? And I would love to have like an answer longer than one single move, because that's definitely not the solution. Bishop on f3 is nice, yes. That is true. That is a true statement right there. Yep. So that was the point. Rook takes. Bam. That's why it doesn't work. You can't take because queen takes. And if queen takes, well, you don't have to auto take. There is this check before, and then you go f takes c3, which is, of course, a critical idea. Rook takes. Here, rook takes d8, and you're winning. So you ought to always look deeper than I put my queen here, especially if you can notice patterns like that. And like, reason, because you want to have them tactics being used in that case, obviously. Tactics need to be on that side. All right, so bishop e7 was played. Rook over defended. Another typical pattern in Carlsen's game. Gets the extra pawn and goes for the typical over defense. Not a single weakness in White's position. Yo, thank you for the follow. Bishop g5, queen c5, and he's basically like checking out. Going to win material here. Bishop 7. It is a white to move and win. White to move and win here. This is just the finishing touch. As such. AB, yes, queen takes. And this is basically a math problem. Let's go deeper than a single move. Chat. Don't slack. Don't slack off like that. That is no Gucci. You don't want to do that. You do not want to do that. Queen c7. Probably I'm just gonna check you. Yep, brick. Do take, yoink, yoink, here. And thankfully for white, he's got an extra b pawn ruling, but this would be lost anyways because the knight and bishop is just too strong. After b7, it's game over, which meant that Carlsen has won the game. Quite a game that was played here. Quite a game. Yeah. Alright, everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Are going to give the men's to Ilya-san. Mr. Ilya. If you enjoyed your stay, do come by, because we might have some fun times as well in the future. Alright, everyone. Have a good one. Sub to our YouTube. Bye, all. Go on ahead. Join, join, join. Kind to Mr. Ilya. Wish you all the best.